I was in shock and still struggling to register what I found out about Judy. Looking for answers, I opened the diary and started to read.
August 19th, 1689. My name is Alice Richard. Yesterday was my 16th birthday. Everyone is talking about the orphan boy who went missing. He's been missing for 5 days, they say. I don't leave the castle very often, but I hear all the news. I think I know where he is. My father, Jeremiah Richard, always told me stories since I was young about a ritual in our family. My great-grandfather, Sir Richard Allen, was the ruler of this little town of ours. During his rule, a strong famine and drought hit the lands, and his people were dying by the hundreds. Sir Richard wanted to help his people, but he did not know how. One night, he was visited by a strange man from a foreign land. The man claimed he could help Sir Richard save his people, but with a price. Not money, but something else. He told Sir Richard that on his son's 16th birthday he must bring a child to him and make him drink his blood. If he failed to do so, town would suffer a much worse plague than the one they suffered from, and the only way to end it would be to kill his own son and drink his blood as a reminder of his broken word. Sir Richard was desperate and wasn't aware of what he was getting himself into, and thus he agreed upon the strange terms of this strange man. The years went on, the plague was over, and the people began to prosper once again. However, when Sir Richard's son's 16th birthday came, Sir Richard forgot his word. And he thought the man would have forgotten about it too. It had been 10 years already. He didn't want his child to drink the blood of another kid. So he didn't. 10 days later, all cattle fell ill, all the children got a heavy fever, and all the land got struck with a heavy drought. Sir Richard was going insane with fear over what he had done. He realized he'd doomed the entire town, and the only way to save it was to kill his own son and drink his blood. It took him 5 days to decide. He couldn't let his people suffer like this. He told his son he was taking him on a hunting trip, and then he took him to an altar that was in the middle of the woods. This altar was the very same one he made the pact with the strange man upon. He brought his son to it, slit his throat, and drank his blood. The strange man appeared to him. Sir Richard was furious with heartbreak and anger toward the strange man and lunged at him with his knife. But the strange man dodged him and smashed his face to a tree when he spoke to him. You knew the consequences of your actions. You knew if you didn't bring a child to your son and make him drink his blood, the town would suffer, and yet you let it happen. Now you will face the fate I had in store for your son. You will be a vampire. You'll feast upon the blood of your townspeople, and your other child will be a vampire as well, and all your heir after you. House Allen will always be the ruling house in this town, but each member of your family will be a vampire and have to drink the blood of a child when they turn 16, or this time, the consequences will be far worse than the plagues. And then he disappeared. Sir Richard laid on the ground crying and looking at his son's bloodless corpse. He couldn't believe what he did. And ever since, it's been a tradition in our family that when a member turns 16, we bring a child from town and let the member drink his blood, thus turning into a vampire. That poor orphan. I know he is kept in our cellar downstairs. I could hear him crying all week. And I shall drink his blood and join my father Jeremiah in being a vampire.
I was shocked and disgusted with what I read. What the hell was that? Judy, or Alice Richard, or whatever the hell she was called. Could this be the early accounts I read about? Who was the strange man that turned them into a family of vampires? Or why would he do that? I kept reading through the diary to find out more about these vampires.
November 3rd, 1700. A few days ago, I met a young prince from a neighboring town at our annual ball. He was handsome and intelligent. He seemed to really like me, but I could tell his intentions were not pure. He kept following me throughout the entire castle. We shared a dance and I gave him a little kiss on the cheek. Poor lad went crazy. I led him down to my cellars, told him no one will find us here, and he was so excited about it. Poor fool. He had no idea what he was getting himself into. He's been locked in my cellar for a while now. His blood is so fresh and it tastes so good. I treat him with as much care as possible. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I grew to like him. In our family, we made an oath to never reveal to the world what we are and to never meddle with human affairs. The only humans we let ourselves be friends with are the ones we turn into vampires later, and then only for breeding when our numbers are too little. My father still hasn't found out about the boy in my cellar. I don't know what he'll do when he does. November 5th, 1700. My father found the young prince while I was in the cellar with him. I got a bit carried off, and I decided to fraternize myself with him while feasting on his blood. No one has ever done anything like that in our family, and my father was furious with me for it. He killed the poor lad, ripping him to shreds and feeding him to our hounds. He said I'd be locked in my room for a year, and to never talk to anyone other than him and my brother.
At this point, I was truly disturbed by everything I've read so far. I didn't want to continue. My sweet Judy, what are you? I still couldn't believe that I was reading her diary. I wanted to know more about this strange man she mentioned in the first entry. I began to do my research and read about any historical accounts that might mention deals with demons or sorcerers. I found mentions of a bizarre case in Japan in the 1960s about a man who killed his wife and daughter, then disappeared. He was found 3 days later hanged in the woods, most probably self-inflicted. The story, according to one of his neighbors, goes as follows. The man, a World War II veteran, was said to have been struggling to keep a stable job to provide for his family. He was said to have been meeting a strange man behind his house. He heard the man pleading for help from the stranger, and he told him he would help him if only he would do one thing for him. The neighbor couldn't hear exactly what the stranger told the man, but it made him furious and angry. He told the stranger that he could never do such a thing and left. 3 months later, the neighbor heard screaming and arguing from the man's apartment, but he didn't bother checking. The next day, the man was nowhere to be found, and the wife and daughter were both found dead in the kitchen, their throats slit. That was truly disturbing, but what I read next made it all the more awful. It was said that the man was found hanged. He had a note in his pocket, his suicide note. It read, "I cannot live with the shame of what I've done. I made this deal to help my family, but the cost was too high. That evil sorcerer, he made me do terrible things. He helped me find a good stable job to be able to provide for my family, but I had to do something terrible for him. I was to kidnap a child, drink his blood and feed him to my family without their knowledge. I was desperate to help them, so I did it. I kidnapped a child, drank his blood and chopped his meat into small bits and served him to my family as dinner one night. I was able to provide for them, but I couldn't live with what I did. I broke my pact with the sorcerer and told my wife about what I had done. She wanted to tell the police, so I had to silence her and my daughter. I can now see that this was the consequence of breaking the pact. I am filled with shame and grief, and I have no reason to live anymore. What the hell have I just read? This was getting more and more disturbing. I found that around the same time, there was truly a boy who went missing and never found. It's possible that this boy was the one he kidnapped. Who was this sorcerer or demon or whatever the fuck he was, and why did he demand such things for people who were desperate for help? I decided to keep reading the diary. My case was the vampire after all, not the sorcerer.
January 25th, 1715. During the year I spent locked away, I learned why my father never wanted me to have a man. He never wanted the outside world to know of our existence. He was afraid they would want to hunt us down, and he was right. Apparently, the strange man that appeared to Sir Richard made his presence known to another person in a nearby town. It was the story of Sir Richard all over again, and a new vampire family existed in the neighboring town. But they made a mistake and made their presence known to the world. This resulted in the townspeople burning down their castle and hunting them down for terrorizing them. The vampire family was far too strong, though, and they massacred everyone in their town. That's when we heard that some guild of foreigners came to our country and began asking questions about vampires. They were hunters of some sort. They are known as the Vampire Hunters Secret Society. And you guessed it from the name, they were secret and not many people knew of their existence, if any. How I got to learn such knowledge will be a secret I'm taking to my grave, but that's not important now. Those hunters managed to locate the neighboring vampire family and slaughtered them all, down to the last one. It took them years to do it, but this war was over 2 years ago. Now the hunters have taken that town as theirs, and they are its residents. By now, many of our townspeople started suspecting our family's true nature. We don't age, we rarely leave our castle, and occasionally some poor kids or elders go missing. We worried that they might contact the hunters. We were far less in number than the family they slaughtered. We had to act. My father, Jeremiah Richard, being our current leader, decided that the best way was to make a pact with the hunters. Yes, of all the stupid ideas a person could come up with, this was his. But in order to not put us all in danger, he told us to leave the country and travel somewhere else in case he got killed. He went to the hunters himself, announcing that he was the only vampire in town. He made a deal with their leader to leave him and all of the other vampires across the world in peace if we don't meddle with human affairs and only kill for necessity, not for sport. I was surprised when he found us 2 nights ago and told us all about it. Now we and the hunters coexist peacefully, in secret.
Now, what the actual fuck am I reading? First, I learned vampires actually exist. Then, there's this strange sorcerer who turned people into evil monsters. And now, a secret society of vampire hunters? Oh, what the hell was that? And how did they manage to stay hidden for so long? All these questions were burning in my brain. But I won't be able to find any answers unless I kept reading.
March 9th, 1799. I can't recall my real name at this point. I've been all over the world, constantly changing my identity whenever people start getting their suspicions about me and my family. For now, I go under the name Mary Allen. We've been living in peace with the hunters for the past 84 years, save for a few rogue individuals who decided to go on a killing spree. We helped the hunters to hunt our own kind down and kill them to avoid war with them. I am ashamed of that. It's our nature, and we cannot keep ourselves in check forever. Sooner or later, many more will do the same. Will we be ready to hunt down more of us just to avoid war with the enemy? I cannot stand this. My father, I tried talking to him about it, telling him we should gather our strength together and we can take the hunters down. But he just shunned me and told me to never bring it up again. I don't know for how long we can keep coexisting in peace, but I am sure, sooner or later, one of us will no longer be a secret, and war between us is inevitable.
Always the rebellious one, Judy, huh? I have to admit, I still admired her for what she was. I began to wonder, was she always the way I knew her? That kind and sweet person? Or was this just for show? Or was she a monster and saw the errors of her way? I would soon find out.
September 2nd, 1868. Today, I had to kill one of my own kind. I had to do it with my own hands. I can't believe what I just did. Meryl was my friend for the past 10 years. Like I predicted and told my father, she went rogue, just like more others will because it is in our nature. I couldn't let the hunters get to her. I couldn't let the other vampires find her first either. I had to find her myself first and try to stop her. I tried to talk her out of it, to come back with me, and I would convince them to spare her, but I knew she wouldn't let that happen. I knew she had no control over her thirst. It wasn't something you can just turn off like the machines we have nowadays. No, it was an insatiable hunger. The more you feed it, the more it demands. She left me no other choice but to stop her right where she was. I can't stand this anymore. We can't stay hidden in fear for eternity. We are stronger than them. They're just men and we are vampires. Why wouldn't Jeremiah unite us against them?
The more I read this diary, the more I felt drawn to Judy. I don't know what it was, but it was like she had me with some spell. I now know why I loved her. She's always intrigued me, like one of my cases. She felt so easy to read, yet I could never figure out what's behind that readable person. I just felt an urge to read more and find out more about her.
April 7th, 1930. After Meryl's incident, I can no longer stand living with my father. His entire existence disgusted me. My hunger and thirst were getting too much for me to control, but it was then that the World War happened. Everyone was so busy with that catastrophic event that I started attacking with more frequency unchecked. But I knew that at some point this war will be over, and I would have to control myself again. I went back to Jeremiah, but I never told him of what I had done. I learned that my brother was killed in the war. He was found feasting upon dead soldiers from his battalion, so he was executed. The leader of the hunters and Jeremiah made sure that this story never got out to the world. Now I was really furious with Father. Not even his own son's death could break his fear from the hunters. Yesterday I got into an argument with him. I brought up again the idea of mine to unite ourselves and kill all the hunters. He got so mad and told me if I ever bring this up again, I would be exiled. I don't know how much more I can put up with any of this. July 19th, 1950. As soon as I started to calm down and subside with Jeremiah, the Second War started, and I took this as a chance to run again and go on another spree. I never should have given in to my hunger. In 1943, I was feasting almost every day. I didn't care about any of our old rules. I was so mad with Jeremiah that I was doing everything he told me not to do just to vent out. I even slept with several men and women before feasting upon them. I still remember their screams and cries for help. And then one night, I'd been so careless that I forgot to cover my tracks. A hunter found me, and I knew at that moment I had to make a choice that Jeremiah was too much of a coward to make, a choice I wanted to make a long time ago. I didn't even give the hunter the chance to catch me in the act. I lunged at him and feasted upon him. I was now declaring war against the hunters. I knew that Jeremiah wouldn't approve it, so I wasn't shocked when I found he renounced me from the family and stated that I was acting as an independent vampire, and the hunters could do with me what they pleased. I guess the perk of being his daughter was that he didn't send any vampires after me. He just left the entire matter for the hunters. So, here I am. I've been on the run ever since. I don't spend more than a year in one place. I try to control my hunger so I don't leave any tracks. I hope that Jeremiah will forgive me, or at least change his mind and unite the vampires to come to save me.
Oh God. Now, I was beginning to understand what she was talking about in that note. My sweet Judy. She was in grave danger, and I was powerless to help her. Hell, I might have been the reason she's on the run again. What have I done? I was starting to panic again. I spent the entire night reading that diary and taking notes. I didn't realize morning had come. I didn't know what to do. Then, I realized there was another entry in the diary. I opened it, too worried of what I might read.
August 18th, 2021. Today is my birthday. My name is Judy Bryan. I've been on the run for the past 60 years until I met this man, Matthew. Our rules and laws forbade us from living among men. I was on the run because I broke those rules. I meddled in the affairs of man, and I made my presence too obvious. I've never broken this rule, however. This was the first time. I don't know what it is about this man, but I find him truly fascinating. He's a private detective, and I've seen him solve some of the most insane and disturbing cases I've ever seen. Yes, even according to my vampiric standards. I remember when I turned 16 all those centuries ago. I remember how I felt when I had to drink the blood of the orphan. I remember how I had to give in to my lust for blood. I remember the prince I used for my own pleasure and hunger. I remember my friend Meryl when I had to kill her. I remember my anger toward Jeremiah, and I remember all those people I killed just because I felt like doing it. I remember how horrible of a monster I am. But something inside me changed when I met Matthew. I don't know how to describe it, but I felt his kindness thrive in me. The more time I spend around him, the more I feel myself become almost human. Ever since I went on the run, I struggled to control my hunger. But something about him makes all these struggles go away. For brief moments, I forget what I am. I forget about the hunters who were trying to get to me, about my father Jeremiah who threw me to them and cowered in fear. I don't recall feeling anything other than anger and hunger my entire life. But this man, he made me feel love for the first time. I still try to satiate my hunger every now and then. I have to maintain myself. But recently, I think I've been feeding a little too much. I've been seeing my victims in the news reports and in the missing people pages. And I heard last night that they were calling Matthew to investigate this case. I've lived with him for 7 years now. I know he's smart. He'll figure something out, or at the very least, he'll draw too much attention to the case. This could lead the hunters directly to us. I can't have them coming to him for me. He is the only thing I care about in this world. I cannot let them hurt him. So, I will go. I will leave. Let him think I'm leaving him for another guy. I don't want him to come after me. But Matthew, if you're reading this, I want you to know that you're the only person I've ever loved in this world. Please forgive me for what I'm about to do, and whatever might come next.